Hello and welcome to Mastering Microsoft Excel video series. This is video number 32 where we're going to talk about take and drop functions in 365 versions of Excel. Without much ado, let's get into the Excel screen and let's start understanding what are these formulas and where exactly we need to use these formulas. All right. Now, for this video, this is the Excel file we're going to use, and this is the data set we're going to use. And this is the same data set we have used even in the last video number 31, where we talked about choose columns and choose rows. Now, take and drop is also data extracting functions or data shaping functions, which is also similar to choose columns and choose rows. If you haven't watched the choose rows and choose columns video, please watch that. I'll provide you the link in the description and then come back and join us in this video. So you will understand why take and drop is more powerful than choose columns and choose rows. Now, in choose columns and choose rows, you have to provide individual column numbers, individual row numbers. Now, let me put you into a context and then where I can tell you that this is something which your choose columns and choose rows cannot handle it. For example, I have a table, a transactions where I want to take only the first 5 days transaction, the last 7 days transactions. So how do I take only the first 5 days or the last 7 days, or the first 5 rows or the last 5 rows? Or sometimes we can say, except the last 5 days, take the rest of the data. Except the last 10 days, take the rest of the data. So when you want to do such kind of extractions, now that's where take and drop comes into place. Now, trust me, even the sophisticated formulas like the offset, the index and match makes this process too complicated, but your take and drop keeps the life very simple, and it's amazing when you see the results. So let's get into the action here. So watch here. I want to take the first 3 transactions of my data set. So how do I do it? Right, the take formula, the first input is the array, which is nothing but your data set, comma, and how many rows you want to take in the selected array. So you can say 3. So when I say 3, it's going to give me the 3 rows of the selected array, comma, you could see the third argument, which is columns, is an optional argument. Here you can say, once I give you the 3 rows, do you want to say that in that 3 rows you need only 2 columns or 3 columns? You can even restrict by that level. So let's say I'm not feeding that right now because it's optional. When I close the braces, let's try to understand what it basically does. So it gives you the first 3 transaction here, right? So let's say I want, in these 3 rows, I want to take only 4 columns. So watch, in that 3 rows, I took only 4 columns. So I can say in the selected array, give me 3 rows and 4 columns. So that is possible. Again, if you guys have a doubt, why don't I do a copy paste? Why can't I try paste specials and links? I've already said in the earlier video, they are not dynamic when it comes to extra data, inclusions or changes in the existing data. Your copy paste operations will not handle it. Your array index formulas cannot handle it without helper columns, but these guys handle it without any complications. All right, so we could see that the column is purely optional. You can decide whether you want to take only certain columns from that array, or if you need all the columns of the array, you can simply ignore the last input. It gives you the entire columns of the required rows. Now, let's say here I'm going to show you how do I use the drop formula. So take what it says is out of the selected array, when you say 3 or 5, it takes only those initial 5 rows or initial 3 rows, whatever the number we feed in the second argument. The rest of the thing, it leaves it. Yeah. So that means except the last. So it considers only the first 3 or the first 5. What does the drop will do? Let's write the drop function. Select the array, comma, as usual, I'm going to say, let's say 2. So I'm saying drop 2 rows in the selected array. So how it is going to drop? From the top or from the bottom? So let's see what does it do. So what does it do? Drop has dropped the first two rows of my array and it took the rest. So ignore the first two rows and take the rest. So drop the first two rows. Is it possible for me to drop the last two rows? Well, absolutely you can do it. Instead of positive, if you give a negative, let's see what happens. So now what I see, except the last two rows, I see the rest of the data. So negative is possible even in take as well. So in take formula, when I say simply -2 from the end, from the bottom of the array, it's going to do it. So what it has done, it has taken from the bottom of the array, it took only the two rows. So the positives will do it from the top, the negatives will do it from the bottom. Start of the array, end of the array. Positives will always be start of the array, negatives will always be end of the array. Same goes for the drop, whether start of the array has to be skipped or the end of the array has to be skipped, designed based on positive or negative. Again, while you're dropping, you can also tell how many columns you want to drop. So let's say I'm going to drop 2 columns. You can see it has dropped the 2 columns because it is positive, it was not negative. So from the start of the array, it was skipped. So the drop is quite amazing when you see the way you can. So you can be selective and you can be choosy when it comes here from the start, from the end, how many rows, how many columns. So take and drop is something you can think about using when you want to take the first set of data or the last set of data, or first set of columns or the last set of columns. And that's where these two guys play a very crucial role. Now remember that in these, the only problem is you cannot say, can you give me the first column, the third column and the fifth column alone out of the rows extracted? And that is not possible because you have to give the column and it's going to be a series of columns. So what I mean to say here is, let's come back here. Let me put you into a difficult situation or a different situation here. So what I mean to say here is, when I select the array and when I say 3 close, it gives me all the columns of the transaction. So what I'm trying to say is it possible I want to take only the region and the total out of this take result? So can I be selective here? That's where the choose columns and the take, when you put them together, they do magic. So what's it? So I want only the region and the total, right? So let me copy that header over here, region and the total, but only for the first 2 transactions. So let's go ahead and type take here, take, and this is my array. And why don't you take only the first 2 rows, and that's going to give you the entire, but I want only the region and the total, which is the first column and the 6th column. So I'm going to put this choose columns over and above my take formula. So the choose columns array is now not the entire table, is the result of the take formula. Now in that take formula result array, why don't you get me the first column and the 6th column? Now what's it? That's the beauty when you put the choose columns and the take formula, the choose rows and the take formula. Likewise, choose columns and the drop, choose rows and the drop. They are magical. So I leave it to you to experience that, but do try, don't miss it. It's amazing to watch when you put them together. So we'll meet you up another video with another exciting input like this. Until then, take care of yourself. Signing off, Hariharan.